All right. Thought I'd give a demonstration on how I filter Japanning before use. Traditionally, the Japanning was just left to settle. You have undissolved minerals that get in the asphaltum from the mining process. That is not actually asphaltum, so it never dissolves. And if you don't do something to combat it, you'll end up with all these little bumps or nibs in your Japanning finish. So traditionally, it's just mixed and let to sit for a week or more, and the particles slowly make their way through the thick honey-like Japanning to the bottom of the container. And then you're careful to never stir it or mix it or upset it, and leave the particles on the bottom. I prefer to filter it. You can use the Japanning right away, shortly after it's mixed if you filter it. And I think it does an even better job than waiting for the particles to settle, because some of them just simply never seem to make their way to the bottom. So, pretty simple process. A plastic bag. This is an icing bag, which works quite well. But I've used just plastic sandwich bags. You want to cut the corner off, giving yourself about a ½ inch opening, roughly. You can see that. A piece of linen, an old bed sheet. It's about 12 by 12. It's plenty big enough. I use a funnel, the container I'm gonna filter into. And the funnel just helps keep the mess down to a minimum, and it makes for an easy place to pour the Japanning. The other thing you're gonna want is you're definitely gonna want some plastic gloves, rubber gloves of some sort, because you inevitably will get some Japanning on you, and it's a mess. So this is the best method I've found so far. I'm working on some other processes for filtering it. There are filters out there for filtering maple syrup, which would work really well, I'm sure, but they start at about $1,000 and go up, so not practical. So, but this works quite well. So we're going to pour the Japanning into the linen. It won't flow through the linen under its own accord. It's just too thick. I think I read somewhere that a piece of decent linen, this is a bed sheet, will filter around 5 to 9 microns. Certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what I read. It certainly seems to do the job. Paint filters do not work. If you get a fine enough paint filter to actually filter out the particles, then the Japanning won't flow through it. So you got to have some way to apply pressure. All right, here we go. I've got some Japanning that I've mixed here, and I'm simply going to pour it into the linen. So here we go. Now I use a little spatula to get all my Japanning out of the can. You'll have obviously some particulate matter on the bottom. Doesn't matter, you're going to filter it out. So little spatula works pretty well for getting the rest of the Japanning out. Certainly if you don't care about leaving some product behind, you don't have to do this. I hate to waste any of it. A little goes so far. What's on this spatula would probably Japan a number 4 plane. Might get at least one full coat on it, because this stuff just really has great coverage. So I try to recover as much of it as I can. And that's pretty clean. So maybe even scrape it off the spatula. Now this is a good size amount to filter at one time. I don't know that I would try to do any more. That was about 1/4 pint. And that's going to be plenty to manage. Plus your hands get tired squeezing it. So, okay, pick up the corners of our cloth. Gather that up. Start to twist it a little bit, just to give yourself something to work with. You don't really want to apply any pressure at this point, because the idea is to get it into the bag without getting it on you. So. And here we go. So now we'll get that down in that icing bag, work it down there. I like to get that down near the bottom, because that's, there we go. As you can see, I've got a little bit on my gloves. Okay, so now just start twisting the cloth while I force that little golf ball size amount of Japanning at the bottom to start to come under pressure. And the plastic bag hopefully will help contain it and get it to flow down. And at this point, I'm going to cut this bag back so it is a little more visible. There we go. So the trick is to get it to go down and not back up out the top of the bag, which it wants to go both directions. So I'm going to start applying pressure, and it'll start making its way through the linen. And if you can see that, I've got a little stream of Japanning going there.